Let's face it, if you're a man, then you are probably dealing with problems and challenges with women. Now, I've got some good news and some bad news for you. Your success with women literally boils down to one thing. The bad news is, if you don't have it, nothing else will work. All of the money, good looks, and all of the best pickup and game skills out there will fail without you mastering this one thing. And that one thing is frame. The answers to ending your pain and suffering and to start living an amazing life with women is just one click away. Click the link and let's get started. Are you tired of your face being weak and beta and everyone always wanting to punch it? Well, there's not much I can do about that, but maybe Chad's face scrub can help. It has been crafted for men with all natural ingredients and without the nasty testosterone disrupting chemicals that will eventually turn you into a little man girl. So, whether you need to take a punch or steal someone's girlfriend, or just stay fresh as you go through the rigors of daily life as a man, Chad's is your brand. Order from my link in the video description to help support the channel. All right. Hope everyone's been doing well. Summer's come to a close. We're getting into fall. And I'm going to be on here talking to you guys a little bit more. So that should be a good thing, right? You guys have been paying attention to my videos, learning some stuff. And today we're going to talk about dating, modern dating versus the old style stuff. Why are we going to talk about that? Well, we're going to talk about it because there's a lot of things from the old way that dating happened. We'll say pre-internet, but I'm going to go into I'll use some 1950s examples here, but before my time. But we'll say pre-internet dating versus now that there is internet and communication moves much faster. So, and we're going to look at some of those differences and then talk about what we need to bring back. And I'm not talking about as a society thing, because you're not going to change society and how women respond in the dating market today to help yourself out. But what you can do is bring back certain things that maybe used to be done that will differentiate you from her other options, help you out a little bit. And of course, as always, when you catch me live, you can throw some questions in the chat, and there's that possibility I might be able to answer them if they're not too in depth. Of course, depending on, I'm going to move my seat closer because I'm a little out of focus. Okay. But yeah, so, you can ask questions and, maybe I have answers for you. Okay. Nope. That's a man, myth, legend stuff, my friend. I am not quite at 500. Yeah, that would be a max for me. That was my max a couple of times, a few reps. So that's it. Thanks for asking what that is. I don't really bench like that anymore, though. I really don't. It's not the greatest exercise. Can create shoulder problems. That's my opinion. If I was competing in powerlifting, that'd be different. But yeah, bench questions. That's fine. We can do that. Okay. Yes, sir. Buckle up. That's got to be on some swag sometime soon. My catchphrase that Kurt always reminds everybody of. Chick fan checking in. Thank you, Kate. Appreciate it. Your commentary is always welcome. You lost. I don't know what this means, bro. I lost frame for 3 months and I still don't know how to get it back. Oof. Well, not to just plug my stuff, but I'm going to the mastermind program. That's a year-long program starting from when you sign up. Okay. Is reopening. It's reopened now unofficially, but we'll put some things out there to make it more official. And I'm going to be taking new members. So if you want to learn how to get frame in all your relationships and situations, it's a little bit more than quick tips and tricks on YouTube. It's a little bit more in depth, but not necessarily super difficult though. Reality is you're having probably more difficulty on your own trying to do this stuff versus getting a little bit of coaching or help. And that's what that group's for. So there's a link in the description of this video that will point you in that direction. But of course, if you have more specific question that I can answer I guess, in a quick sense here on a live stream, you can always ask, Um, yes, more or less. The military still wants me to do things for them. So occasionally that ends up checking out. But yeah, I'm going to be looking at more of a normal schedule now, getting back into the swing. Okay. Um, does an elephant, I don't know. I don't know. You'll have to tell me, sir. Me, I thought they were more of a, what is it? Grassland kind of a thing. Anyway, I don't think elephants are wandering around in the jungle, bro. Think about that one for a second. I don't know. Are they? I don't know. Not the expert on that. And Ernesto, appreciate you, bro. Highly suggest Frame Mastermind course. Yes, absolutely. Yep, 100%. So, guys, are getting a lot of value out of that. So, if you're having some kind of a frame problem and can't get it back, book an appointment and a consult to see if you're a good fit for it. Wow, lots of all right, sir. Good to see you, Ian. I appreciate it. What do we got here? More questions, and we'll get into the topic. Are military guys the epitome of blue-pilled alphas? A lot of times they are, dude. Yeah, a lot of times they are. Notice this often. Yeah. Well, I mean, you join the military in order to, there's some strong sense for a lot of people who join the military of wanting to protect. That's certainly my thing. And there's a level of not valuing yourself too. And I don't mean to say that people in the military don't value themselves or any of that stuff, but if you're willing to go and do combat, and sacrifice yourself for the greater, we'll say, good of society, there's some level, a lot of times, not all the time, but some level of putting self-sacrifice as a high value, which kind of inadvertently means maybe your value and contribution to the world is not as worthwhile as contributing your life for the sake of others. So, with that mental framework or paradigm, these guys will enter in relationships where they think that the value that they have as a man is to sacrifice themselves for everybody else. Well, what happens is that puts them in line to get taken advantage of by predatory women. You see, it also puts them in a kind of a situation where women can see them, even a good chick, right, could see them as disposable because they're treating themselves that way. And so it screws up the framework when you have a mindset that you're not valuable. So my recommendation, although it's not the topic of the video, and that's okay, my recommendation for guys who are in the service, kind of, we'll say, field where you're putting your life on the line potentially for others, your actual physical life. My suggestion and advice is that you don't apply that to your dating and mating and life and marriage if it comes to that, in relationships. Okay, because your value is in what you bring to the relationship, where you lead that relationship, and your leadership and presence as a man. Your value is not in sacrificing yourself for somebody else. And it doesn't mean that you don't do some things for your family, and that doesn't mean you don't do things for your partner. Okay, it just means that your job as a man, in order to maintain the attraction and attractiveness of your partner, right, where they see you as attractive and wanting to be with you, is your masculine leadership presence and willingness to contribute to the world, your value and purpose too, your sense of purpose, not just sacrificing yourself for her or the family. Like that framework, although it sounds good and is sold as a good thing, really isn't, because you end up with that guy who doesn't accomplish very much, can't seem to get his money together, can't seem to get his life together, just sort of doing his best, right, to take care of kids or a wife, and the wife ends up not liking him very much. The kids end up lacking an opportunity. It's just a recipe for disaster. As a man, you need to go out and accomplish a purpose outside of your family and outside of women. And in accomplishing that, you'll be financially stable and provide stability and direction in your life that you can then offer a family. You can then offer that to a woman that you're wanting to be in a relationship with, if that's what we're talking about here. So a lot of men lose that. Guys who are getting off of active duty or getting off of active service or whatever, you have to find a purpose. You have to be able to shift and adapt. Adaption is a key here. So you're no longer in your military position. You have to shift into a position of finding value outside of your service. All right. And that's where a lot of guys struggle, is they don't find that value. And this screws their relationships up, and this leads to self-selection. Self-selection is like taking themselves out of the gene pool, a word that YouTube hates me to use, or else they won't push my video out. So these are all things. Okay. And I'm not to, those super chats and those little things. It's not about the money. It's about the algorithms. If I miss a question and you don't have it in a super, that is your fault, not mine. Okay. But I'm trying to get your questions because I haven't been on live in a while. What do we have this one here? How do you handle your LTR's girlfriends disliking you and disapproving you being together? Well, that's something we do cover in the frame mastermind stuff. So it's a little bit more in depth, but I'll try to sum it up here for you on this question. So what we're talking about, this question was about, okay, your girlfriend basically has friends that don't like you. Well, first of all, you want to analyze why they don't like you a little bit and figure out why that is. Is it you? Are you a problem, or is it them? So that's just putting that out there. So make sure you're taking your personal responsibility in this. You want to try, you're not going to simp for her friends, but you do want to try to respect, her friendships and her relationships that are, with her, right? I mean, you want to try to do that as much as you can. Now, we have a lot of women out there that have toxic friends, and those toxic friends don't like guys that don't fit their model or framework of how they think a relationship should go. And they don't think you fit the model of how a man should be. And of course, they're wrong and broken and stupid. Okay. So you run into that sometimes, and you run into friends of sometimes girlfriends who will be out to sabotage their girlfriend. They don't mean to like, they don't mean for it to be a sabotage, but basically they're in a paradigm of unhappiness, like most westernized women today in the dating market. And they're trying to make sure their girlfriend stays there right along with them. And so if, let's say you're a good dude, okay, and she's trying to level her life up and, have a better life with somebody than what is out there today in the dating and marriage market, and you represent that, you'll actually could be perceived as a threat to some of these women who are just not good people, right? And so if that's the case, I don't know what the case is with you, but if that's the case, then you can't give a crap about her friends. And you need to accept that her friends, in her accepting of her, the framework of her friends, may be the downfall of your relationship. So you want to consider that as a possibility. Now, what you want to do, though, about it is you create a bubble of us, I call it, or idealized isolation. Every relationship should have a level of idealized isolation. What that means is you and her are the relationship. And then you have boundaries and barriers between you and her and the outside world. There should be some things that only you two share. Her mom and her dad and her friends and her brother, sisters, whoever, don't share certain things that you two only share in the relationship, right? Now, I know this should, I mean, obviously, her mom or her dad are not participating in the sexual relationship. So I'm not talking about participating necessarily, but I'm talking about even things that you share emotionally, mentally, things you guys talk about. There should be boundaries between you and her and the rest of the world. And then she needs to at least be able to understand the framework of the idea or the fact that modern relationships are broken. If she can understand that and be in a bubble with you, and I mean that in a healthy way, because there's an unhealthy way of isolating people that isn't good, right? And I'm not talking about not allowing her to have friends or something, but isolation in an idealized sense. In other words, her and we are different than them. Your friends that are blowing through dudes, continuing to run back to the same stupid ex who is toxic, continuing to get in bad relationships, mom and dad who's been divorced a couple times or whatever, those their opinions on your relationship and how it should go is invalid. All right. And so that's what you need to be able to present, not through explaining necessarily, but just through using statements of fact and an understanding. So there's a way to do that again. And I talk about that more in detail in the mastermind stuff, but because it's just a little bit more involved, right? Maybe that's a topic for a whole video here. But you have to be able to present the framework that it's us, and then everybody else, because everybody else is dysfunctional. That's not really that hard of a framework to present. She can be friends with people that she knows are like she could have her best girlfriend that she knows is basically a streetwalker. You know what I mean? But she's still her friend, and that's okay, as long as she understands and knows, hey, yeah, that's just the way she does it. And that's obviously not something I advise her to do, but we're still good friends. That's fine. As long as she has her understanding of how relationships should go, matching and being led by you, and you guys are congruent there. That's all that matters. Her friends don't like you, good, whatever. Who cares? But at some point though, she does need to be willing to defend your relationship. So her friends don't like you, but they need to accept you and accept the relationship, or she needs to reconsider those friendships. And a lot of women won't do that. So you may be left with a failing model, depending on how she'll react. But I mean, that's just something, right? What do you got here? Oh, that's the one I already looked at. Okay. So we got GTA Guides. Thanks for the super here. After a walk alone with a girl in my social circle, she seems to be good with me, but she rejects physical contact. Any advice? Well, what do you mean by reject physical contact? So I need more context than that. So you're walking home, you're walking with the girl. She's in social circle. What'd you do? Did you try to grab her ass? Did you try to make out with her? Did you try to kiss her? Did you try to hold her hand in a weird, creepy way? Did you try to touch her like this? And I'm not trying to be a dick, but I really need to know. So add to that. So if you touch casually, all right. So here's the thing. You don't, okay. All right. Maybe this will help because I'm having to fill in blanks off of, a chat here. All right. She doesn't have you in a mental framework of a sexual option. So you need to change that and put that in that framework. Don't hide behind a friend framework and then try to sneak your dick in. You know what I'm saying? Like don't do that. Okay. Cause that's all right. If I keep my arm around her, all right. Yeah. Exactly. Okay. So I'm speaking to what you need to do here. She doesn't have you in a sexual framework. She has you in a friendship sort of framework. Dude, you got to understand, like women, and especially if they're pretty, they are constantly deflecting like or torpedo attack of penises all day long. And you're just like one of them. All right. And she would like to have male friendships and a presence of males that she doesn't have to defend herself against their penises. Okay. But she can't because it's possible because we're dudes and that's just not how it works. And so what ends up happening is she just has to like keep these weird boundaries and figure and navigate that. And some girls are just not good at that. Some girls are too assertive. Some girls are not assertive enough. And it's just a whole mess. What you want to do, though, as a man is not participate in that bullshit. Okay. So, in other words, you need to put her in a framework of that you're interested in in her as a sexual option, and she needs to decide whether she wants to see you as that option. All right. So you're trying to friend your way into her vagina. And I know that works actually. There's a reason why this is a mating strategy is because it can work. Okay. But it's largely a waste of time. Okay. And so yeah, it's just largely a waste and it's not necessary, not just a waste of time, but like you're you just put yourself in a bad framework with girls. I mean, she's in a social circle, and if you're trying to like sneak your dick in, and she's not interested, guess what kind of reputation you're going to get in your social circle as an unmateable guy? It's just not going to be good, you know? And she has you in a friend framework. You need to be able to move her out of that framework. Best way to do that is to be a bit more direct than you are. You're trying to indirect your way in through physical escalation. It's actually the creepiest way you could possibly do it. Okay. Because it's like you're the guy that she's just trusting in a social circle and thinking of you maybe not in a sexual manner. And then you're trying to creep your way in there. And I'm not saying that to be a dick, but that's just way it's coming across. You're not going to get a good reputation. That's not good. I mean, with girls in social circles, it's good to be where you friend zone them in a way. All right. And you want females that are platonic around you to see you at least as a good mating option for somebody. That's really important. In fact, a lot of guys surround themselves and have girls in their friend circles that are like, ew, they don't see that guy. They don't see you as a guy that somebody should be hooking up with. You don't want that because the way that they're going to talk, the way that they're going to treat you, the way that they're going to act is going to be as if, you're not a mateable guy. And that's going to send signals out into the world and back to yourself that you're not mateable. And you're going to reflect that when you deal with women that you're interested in. And it's a whole mess. Girls in your social circles should be helping you hook up and get with girls you want, not hindering you. Okay. So that's just a whole thing. But you're trying social circle game and it sounds like you're not doing it right. All right. You need to be more direct. You need to get her on a one-on-one as if it's a date. You know what I mean? And that's where we're going to get into actually a good segue into dating. All right. But none of this, you need to put her in a sexual framework by treating her like an option, not ambiguously treating her like a friend and sort of hanging around like you're a friend, but then trying to physically escalate and see if she's interested. What you want to do is you want to put her into, and you can be very direct about this. You can be after a conversation or something, you look her dead in the eye. I really like talking to you. Why don't we get a drink and next week and see how things go, maybe have you come over or something like that, right? But be very direct and like you're interested in having one-on-one time with her. You're interested in, something a little bit different than this friendship. And then if she rejects it, just be like, all right, well, I thought I was signaling something different. That's okay. Have a good one, like, and leave it. And then don't waste any more time with her. Okay. Guys fear rejection. And so this is why they pussyfoot around with this stuff. Listen, get rejected by her or get accepted into a sexual framework. Do it quickly and then redirect your energy. All right. That's the best advice I have for you. It sounds like you're just trying to kind of sneak it in there. Don't sneak your dick in on your friends. Okay. Don't do that. All right. Put them in when I say a sexual framework, I mean, you start treating her like a date. You set up an actual thing where you would hang out and do something just like you would a girl that you met You know what I mean? And then start treating her in that framework. Start sexualizing things, not in a perverted, weird way, but like go in some of my past videos and see like how to flirt, start being more direct that you are interested in something that is not a friendship before you lay hands on her. Put her mind and her fantasy into that framework. Let her accept or reject that first. Otherwise, it's perceived really as a dude who's just assaulting a girl. Okay. And you don't want to be that dude. What do we got here? Yes, sir. You got it, bro. You know exactly what to do. And there we go. That's why we do live shows. Ladies and gentlemen, we give advice here. And now let's get into the topic. So appreciate you guys. Okay. Oh, let's see here. We're going to share the screen. Share these slides here. I don't like this. Okay, that's not what I want. I want Google Slides. Okay, sorry. You guys know I don't know how to work a computer, right? Okay. We're just going to share the screen here. All right, we'll do this. Boom. Okay, so we're doing this. We're doing that. Okay, let's talk about some rules now. Rules of dating, okay? Slideshow. Yay, 1950s rules. Oh, my face isn't on there. That's terrible. Okay, so we're going to, I don't like this. Well, who cares? We'll just do that then. Where's me though? Am I on the other? Okay, whatever. I think I'm there. All right, so we got 1950s rules, okay? So let's talk about what some of those 1950s rules are. And we'll see if any of these apply to dating. Some of them are pretty good, and then some of them maybe aren't so good. But let's get into them. All right, so number one, guy always makes the first move. That's pretty true today still, I think. Guys usually are the ones to try to get the girl, to hang out or whatever. The girl's still the one putting herself in the guy's orbit. That's pretty instinctual. So number one's not too crazy. It's pretty normal. This is all, by the way, from an article in, what was it? It was written quite a long time ago. Where's the article from? Oh, dang it. Not Vice, because that was not that long ago. Reader's Digest. So this is all from a Reader's Digest article like a while ago talking about 1950s type rules. Okay. Now I paraphrase a little bit because they give longer explanations. So number two, respond quickly, no ghosting. Okay. So that's a big thing here that is different today, is that people just ghost, like it's their, people just ghost like it's no big deal, and that was like back in the day. You didn't just ghost people. Like that was considered very impolite and very rude. But nowadays with the way communication is, so you didn't have access to people like that either. You think about a time period where you didn't have texting. You know what I mean? I remember when I remember when we didn't have texting, but I also remember when you had to pay a certain amount like per text, and depending on your plan, like you didn't just have unlimited texting like when so many years ago. And so people didn't text like, I mean, you didn't have easy access to people. And so with that, you had to be, it was considered very rude to ghost, to not call somebody back or not text them. It was a very rude thing to do. Like a girl would get a bad reputation as just a, piece of crap if she wasn't just direct in saying, I'm not interested. Okay. And so that's a big thing here. So now it's actually, women are very, in my opinion, very rude nowadays. And they don't, but then guys are also, I mean, it's just the whole thing's broken, right? Because you got, a girl says to a guy, hey, I got a boyfriend, or I'm not interested. Then the guy's like, oh, I didn't want you anyway. You're a stupid slut. Like the guy'll just like, attack her, and just like, and so like, she doesn't want to have to deal with all that crap. So I understand why women ghost. You know what I mean? I understand why guys ghost. I mean, occasionally I've been guilty just because I have so much I have so many people trying to access me. It's just somebody that you're not, directly in that kind of communication with. You're just not, I get tons of women and solicitations and bull stuff in my DMs all the time. And I have an assistant that goes through it because it's too much. And I don't respond to a lot of it. But back in the day though, back in the day, that was considered very rude or impolite. So you have to consider ghosting as part of the game. And you need to put that into your dating strategy. All right. And you set up a hangout or something like that. You always want to do some sort of confirmation, or it's not like it used to be. If you're setting a hang up out that is more than a couple days out, let's say you're talking to her on a Monday and you're going to hang out on a Thursday or Friday, send that message Thursday or Friday and be like, hey, what's up? How are you doing? Or how's your day go? Or whatever. And make sure she's still responsive. Yeah, good. How's yours? Mine's great. Can't wait to see you later. Or look forward to seeing you later. Bam. That's it. That's all you have to do. All right. But that's so simple things to make sure that you don't waste your time getting ghosted or whatever. Because that's just a super common thing nowadays. Right. All right. So going back to sharing my screen. Okay, so back to the list. So yeah, you didn't break dates. You didn't make excuses. Goes back to that thing. I mean, if you can't just text somebody and say, oh, I can't make it, it was pretty rude to have somebody show up somewhere or try it, especially if they're coming to your house to pick you up, which is pretty common. A guy would pick a girl up where she lives, maybe meet the parents or meet her roommates or something like that. You're certainly not, breaking a date then and have the guy show up at your place. Be on time. There's one. A lot of men and women are just habitually late all the time. Hey, 5 or 10 minutes is fine. You have that text machine in your hand. You can send a quick text over with an ETA. Don't be too butthurt if she's, a little bit late, but she's communicating. But certainly, it would be nice if people respected each other's time better, right? Meeting the parents or meeting a roommate or meeting whoever, like a girl, a lot of times back in the day didn't just go out with a dude without telling people about it. They still don't do that anyway. They usually have a girlfriend or somebody, a lifeline on a text message in case things get weird. But that was a thing that they used to do in the day. Probably not so necessary. And that's probably a good thing we don't meet parents right away anymore, I would have to say, because most parents today are pretty damn dysfunctional. And so it would be a little ridiculous to put them into the situation early. Getting dressed up. I mean, people look like shit nowadays. It's crazy, and so putting on some decent clothes to go out. That was something they did back in the day. Dudes, this is funny, but I think we talked about this in Rule Zero a few weeks ago, but yeah, like women didn't place their order a lot of times. Like the dude would order for her. He might ask her what she wants, and then he would order for both. That has to do with, and then we also have men would always pay. There was an assumption of dinner here, just in the article, which I don't advise that men do dinner right away with someone they don't know, simply for the ghosting factor and simply for the way that women can tend to use guys nowadays. And also, even for women, it's not good for them to show up to a dinner date with a guy that they just met on Hinge or something. And so, yeah, that's a good thing to think about here too. It's like, it has to do with male leadership, right? So men would lead back in the day, and men don't lead today, and it's greatly unattractive. I'm going to tell you one thing that'll help differentiate you from the crowd, guys. If you learn how to demonstrate authority and leadership with women in your life, and you know how to lead the date. I mean, that's how she's going to feel secure. That's how she's going to feel taken care of. That's how she's going to be able to open up and be a good partner for you, is if she trusts that you're going to be able to take care of things. And so leadership is important. There was an understanding of that back in the day. And now, of course, with a lot of confusion out there with people's, gender and societal roles and stuff, that's been lost to a degree, and that's not necessarily good, right? So leading is definitely something that you guys can start instituting. This is all the advice I received from my parents. Plus, be a nice guy, right? Exactly. Just teaching you how to simp, right? So we'll keep going over the list here. Um, all right. So yeah, so pick her up. That was the thing. You picked her up, which nowadays, because of security reasons, she meets you usually. That's a good thing, especially because nobody's like really protecting. There's not that protective nature for most women anymore. The parents or the friends are not making sure she's okay. I mean, women are walking victims nowadays, it seems like. And so meeting somewhere is probably good for her safety and quite frankly for yours. Um, in ringing the bell. So now if you do go to pick a girl up, ring the doorbell. Don't be an idiot. Okay. Don't sit in the car and honk or shoot her a text. Actually go to the door. And I'll get into why I'm saying that stuff in a minute with some suggestions I have for you that'll help. Another rule they had for 1950s rules is find out what time she's expected to be home. Again, there's an assumption that somebody was waiting for her, whether it's a roommate or a friend or a parent, and that a girl didn't just stay out all night with a guy. That made her not good relationship material. Nowadays, of course, women are waking up in other people's houses that they just met. I mean, like, no protective nature whatsoever. How this goes now to the chivalry stuff. Help her with her coat, open doors. And I'll get into that, whether that's a good idea or not. Walk between the date and the curb, right? That protective stuff. Okay, 15. This is interesting. No hanky panky, right? No, you didn't kiss on the first date back then. You didn't bang on the first date. Those are things that are different. And a lot of time dudes would just bring her stuff, flowers, whatever bullshit, trying to win her over. Okay. I would say probably not a good thing and probably good we got rid of that. If you're seeing somebody already, that's different. But if it's someone you just met, that can be a little weird. Right. And so let's go over now some we'll look at whoa, on my screen there. Check this thing. But yeah, let's go over some now suggestions that I have for you guys, really. Things that used to be done, but not so much anymore. So, cold approach. All right. Now, back in the day, you didn't have dating apps, right? And so, guys had to learn how to approach a girl and face down his fears of rejection and open a conversation, ignite some emotions in her that makes her, see or perceive him as being attractive. And then from there, get a phone number or get a date set up or whatever, right? That was what you had to do prior to cell phones and text messages and all that. Nowadays, guys just sneak around and, simp on her Instagram or whatever. Guys have lost social skills. Men have lost the social skills to be able to come up to somebody and engage a woman in a way that's attractive. And that's a shame. Now, here's a good thing about that, though, for you. And all you guys who just bitch about how things are nowadays and, how women are and all that crap. Look, this gives you an edge, man. Like, if you know how to approach a woman and be attractive, you're cleaning house, dude. You have as many options as you want, really, because guys just don't do that anymore. They just don't know how to do that. They don't know how to engage in a woman in an attractive way. And go from stranger to, hey, wow, I'm interested in this guy. And so if you build those skills, you're going to differentiate yourself a lot. And that's something that you had to do back in the day. That's kind of a lost art for most men, right? Now, some of you guys who look into the pickup stuff or whatever, maybe it's not quite lost with you unless your material sucks and then you're just doing it badly, right? But for the rest of you guys who are glued to screens and the internet and wasting your time, start cold approaching. Start actually talking and engaging with people in social settings. That's a huge skill set that'll help you. I just ran guys through a pickup course on that stuff, and it's an incredible skill to have. In the mastermind group, that's part of the skill sets we deal with. All right, so that'll differentiate you. Be the ability to just open somebody up and talk to them. Number two, build fantasy. Okay. Back in the day, right? You might, there were situations where guys courted women via letter. All right. We're talking now quite a long time ago, but, they didn't just talk on the kitchen phone. You know, high school or college boys and girls would write each other letters because they didn't have, we're talking now 1950s and prior to that. They might write each other these notes, and there was much more thought that went into language and communication that went into somebody you were interested in. It doesn't really take much. You can apply this to your texting. You can apply this to your story building. You can apply this to the way you talk to women, building imagery in their heads. I have past videos on this, and I can do more future videos on it if you like, on how to open up with something that's interesting and engaging, that builds curiosity right from the get-go when you say something, right? And then from there, they become building that investment on their part and interest, and also building what I call fantasy, meaning being in your imagination, where she is able to imagine what it'd be like to be with you. And you can build that through language. It's a powerful thing. And it's a good way of communicating, is provided that you're congruent and you're actually the person that you say that you are when you're in front of her. Being able to, when I say build fantasy, I don't mean something that's not real necessarily, but I mean when you're able to sort of use language skills and storytelling skills and good question, asking good solid questions and making good connections, because using those empathetic skills to be able to sort of read somebody and recognize what they're thinking or whatever. It's just a powerful thing and a powerful way to connect with somebody. So when you're stuck over a screen via a dating app or, social media, whatever, and in between meetups or prior to a meetup, using those communication skills to build some of that is something that'll help you. And I don't mean it doing it in such a way where you are over investing, okay? But in a calibrated way where it's a good, solid exchange between you and the other person. All right. Here's the thing that they used to do that we don't do anymore, is being direct and dominant, right? So we've devalued masculine dominance and direct communication, okay, in our culture and society. Again, instead of complaining about that, use it to your advantage. When you show up and you're a direct, like we just talked about this in this example, right? The question that came through on the super chat on a guy who's dealing with a girl in a social circle. He's not sure how to bridge that gap between friend to, sexual interest. And he's trying to do that indirectly and through physical touch that isn't really calibrated to how she sees him. You see, it's not a socially calibrated physical touching situation. I mean, that's okay. That's why you ask questions, and I'm here to answer them for you. Better in those situations, and probably a lot of other situations, is just to be direct. You just tell her what you want, but more or less in an authoritative way. Hey, I really enjoy talking to you. Let's do something next week. Boom, right? That's direct and it's dominant. Okay, dominant doesn't mean, I don't know, trying to flex your muscles on her. I don't know what guys think dominant is, and they don't know what it is. But it means being direct and authoritative. Letting her know through your calibrated actions and words what your intentions are, what you want, and that telling her that's where she needs to go. Give her, of course, she has the option to consent or not consent. That's her option. But using more direct communication, using more dominant behavior. And I say dominant, I mean just leading, hey, let's go here. And boom, you're there. Okay. Instead of asking for permission, asking her what she wants, what's your, and not that getting to know what she wants isn't important. It's actually critically important. But a lot of you guys are trying to wait for her to make decisions for you, or asking her permission so that you can make a decision. And that stuff has got to stop. It's completely unattractive. And women are literally just dying out there trying to find a guy who's going to be direct and dominant and tell them what to do. I mean, really. So if you can do that, learn how to do that in a way that is calibrated, you're going to help yourself. Number 4, don't be so focused on getting laid. All right. So this is a really important one. And we talk about, of course, in context of, getting, I mean, that's what you're trying to date for, right? You're trying to get sex. I mean, we know that. Okay. You want to have sex with this person, or else why, you're not going to be talking to them. You're not going to be dating them. You're not going to be in a relationship with them if sex is not a part of the equation. But some of you guys are so hyper focused and worried about some girl taking advantage of your time or your energy, or, you're a free dinner or whatever the fuck you guys are talking about, worried about. You're like, you know, you're too focused on trying to get laid, and it screws your game up, because you should be focused on seeing if she is a good option for you to have sex with. Okay, you should be at a point in your life, and if you're not there, this is what you need to work towards, where your sexual market value is so high that girls want to sleep with you. And so then the question is, am I going to reward this person with my time, energy, and that includes sexual energy? Is she a person that I can connect with and have a good time with, and would be a good person for that, for whatever you're looking for, right? Whether it's casual or whether it's LTR, long-term relationship, whatever it is. When you come at it from, I'm trying to get sex, what's the best thing I can say to get the sex? How can I escalate it into the bedroom to get the sex? I mean, that's like, you guys suck. Right? Some of you guys are just, and it comes across, and just, you come across like thirsty dudes, man, simping for some chick, and chicks got women that are pretty have thirsty ass guys after them all day long. You don't differentiate yourself. And so the framework should be that you're valuable, and that you're sexually valuable, that having sex with you is a benefit to her, not just to you. And that's how you need to approach things. And then just focus on having a good time and getting to know this person and connecting empathetically. Sex happens as a natural course of that empathetic connection between two people sexually interested in each other. You don't have to set up a bunch of rules and paradigms to make sure you don't get, taken advantage of or whatever. Like, you just don't have to do that, because some of you guys are hype, especially guys who listen to content like in the men's health space. You're too freaking hypersensitive about some woman taking advantage of your time and energy, because you don't have any skills on how to game women, how to have game and stuff, and how to be attractive, have fun, set your boundaries, set your standards, communicate well. You see what I mean? When you have these skills, you're not worried about some girl that you just met, hurting your feelings or ruining your day. Okay. You're just not, and you can just relax and let things happen naturally as a course of action. There's plenty of guys who have had great relationships, great sexual partners, and it took them maybe more than a date to get them there, just because of her attraction triggers paradigm, the situation, circumstance, all that stuff. I've coached women I've actually had female clients who were like as young as 19 years old, trying to figure things out, because they didn't want to go run through guys and go through hoe phases and be a bunch of sluts like a lot of girls do, right? They knew it was a recipe for disaster for them from finding a high value guy. And so I've had them pay for my time, and my time's pretty expensive, to try to figure this stuff out. Because when they would go on dates with these guys, all they were doing was trying to get into their vaginas on the first date. And if they didn't do that, then they just would, whatever, go off somewhere else. And they have all kinds of shows and bullshit out there promoting that's, you're high value man, blah, blah, blah. No, you know what? High value man, whatever. Okay. If you're a high value man that wants somebody more than a hoe, I'm not saying for the first date, sex makes her a hoe either. Just understand that. But you're not just, high value man doesn't have to focus on that just as the prize anyway. Sex happens for him. And so really you're just LARPing a high value man. You're really not. You know what I'm saying? If that's if you're trying to be so hyper focused on that stuff. What do we got in a comment? It's creepy when guys come off as desperate for sex with yeah, of course, absolutely. And so this was socially unacceptable back in the day. Nowadays, this is normal for dudes. And yes, it is huge. Excuse me. Ernesto knows because he's in the group, right? And so he knows that, and he's seen it because all these guys in the group will tell you they're having more rewarding, better sexual experiences with better women. And if frequency is their goal, more frequent situations as well, just by not seeing themselves as the prize and not trying to be so focused on getting laid. It's funny when you remove that as your main focus. You shouldn't have to even, a girl knows if she wants to have sex with you or not, almost right off the bat. So you don't really need to make that a focus. All you're going to do is ruin your chances, quite frankly, by coming off as somebody who doesn't have a whole lot of options, if you know what I'm saying. All right, let's go get back into my list here. And so yeah, don't be so focused on getting laid. Next one is move fast to meet, take your time on the date. Okay, so that kind of goes back to the getting laid thing. All right. But and this is a pretty important actually a really important distinction here, because there. So the speed in which certain things happen is different today than it has been in the past. And a lot of dating coaches, some of them very popular, are way out of date here. When you meet a girl, let's say in a cold situation, exchange some social media or phone number, you need to move on that a lot quicker than what you think. Because women that are attractive, especially let's say younger women in some college town or something like that, right? And it's all going to depend on who we're dealing with here, but in the target market or the age and level of activity of the girl you're dealing with. But if you meet a girl on the street, have a great connection, exchange contact info, and then try to set up a date, 4 days later, you're probably never going to hear from her again. Okay. That advice is pretty out of date. You need to be able to move a little bit more quickly, and you need to be able to build some investment and interest over that text medium. Not saying you need to waste your time texting all day with somebody unless she's really interesting and you like her and it's going somewhere. But what I'm saying is, you're moving it towards that meetup so you can make it real, okay, and not just over a medium with between screens where you don't know if that person's genuine or not. But you need to move rather quickly on that. In other words, you meet some girl when you're hanging out Friday, throw her a text the next day, or even close a meeting right there Friday that, you meet her. Hey, I'm going back out. I'm going back to my friends, but we should do something later. Like, what are you doing later tonight? Or whatever. You guys got to go to an after party later, or what do you got any plans Sunday? Like, don't be afraid to move that needle a lot faster than what's being advised nowadays. And I say that, and again, with calibration, but I say that because there's so much interest nowadays and so many ways women are getting guys to try to get to them through, because just the reason why they ghost messages, right, is that there are guys in their DMs every day, every week. There are guys on their pages every day, every week, in their Snapchat, on the streets if they're brave enough. All right. And so she meets you. If she's single enough to even go out with you, she's got probably 3, 4, 5 other options. And it doesn't mean to be in a hurry, okay, and to be like anxious about it, or right. It's, you do it in a calibrated way, but you leave that conversation and she's in a high note, text later, and keep that kind of going into a meetup as rapidly as you can. Now, maybe this meetup set up for a Monday or a Tuesday and you met her on a Friday. That's fine. But move that needle along faster. Don't do this thing where you get a girl's number and then you wait 4 or 5 days to call her like it's the 50s or 90s even. You're going to probably lose most of those opportunities. Now, the older the girl is, the less interest she's getting from other men, and the greater her patience is. So guys who are my clients here, that my listeners who are in their 50s and 60s, who are dating 40 and 50-year-old women, yeah, you might be able to get away with setting up that date a week, 4 or 5 days later. But the younger you get, the less, patience and the less, interest they're going to have, and the easier they're going to be to distract, the quicker they're going to get snatched up by, they find themselves out with some other guy who's not even a better option for them, but they don't know the difference because they're getting so many options. Like, you get what I'm saying? It's like, you need to be able to move quickly. But once you get her on the actual date, you need to slow her ass down. And that's where you guys screw up, is that you take too much time to try to get her out, either bantering too long and dicking around on social media or over a screen, or waiting too long to try to get her out, whatever. And then it takes you a couple weeks to get her out someplace, to get a face-to-face. And then once you do that, you're trying to rush her to, you're trying to get a same night lay with her because you've been, courting this girl over screens for so long, and you're not being patient. So you guys lose your patience by the time you actually get her face to face. Don't do that. Okay. Relax, have fun. All right. Goes back to that other point. Don't be so focused on getting laid. That's when you slow it down and you really try to see, is this person a good enough match for you? Not approaching it of, oh, I finally got her on a date, time to try to have some sex with her. Maybe we can have sex after appetizers. Maybe I can, get her in my car. Like, some of you guys are just crazy. Know the difference between the speed and coming across with scarcity mindset. Yeah, exactly. Because you can actually escalate you can have a date where the face-to-face meeting escalates to the bedroom like within an hour or two, but it's not, there's a ton of comfort and good feeling there for her and for you in that process because it goes so seamlessly. And she might not be this terrible person, she might be a great match, like even for long term, just because she ended up in bed with you quickly because she was highly attracted. You can't penalize her for that, However, you're still not in a hurry, is my point. You're taking your time with her in a sense, and recognizing things. And when that's the case, a lot of times it does happen pretty rapidly, and you don't even notice how rapidly it happens in a way. You just, because you're in the moment, your presence in the moment. And this just it goes back again to making a real connection with a person, and that empathy, which is something that is not natural to a lot of you guys, most of you guys. And so that's why I do what I do. And that's why you guys, jump into my my mastermind program. It'll really help you out. Okay. So getting back to some of the final points here. Share. And of course, you guys got any additional questions, you know what to do. All right. So that's what I meant by move fast. Fast to meet, because that happens quicker, but then slow your ass down once you get her face to face and just enjoy the moment. All right. And be present and have fun. Here's one thing. All right. Go on actual dates. Like, holy crap. Right. So a lot of you guys, like, it's all this Netflix and chill bullshit, or just like bantering over screen and then trying to just like throw your dick in her. You different. I'm not saying, because I know a bunch of freaking idiots now are going to jump in the chat going, you're investing too much in a girl. Okay. All right, guys, you don't get laid. Shut the fuck up and listen. All right. You'll differentiate yourself when you get a girl and you go someplace cool and you have a nice time. All right. You just differentiate yourself and you protect yourself more. Some of you guys are so thirsty. You're literally jumping on, seeking arrangements or Tinder or Hinge. and you're trying to get girls coming directly to your house, the girls you don't even know. I mean, holy shit, you're going to wake up in a bathtub full of ice, missing a few organs. You know what I mean? It's like, you need to think about some of these things. What if that girl is a crazy? You just met her online. All right. Meet at a place. Now, I'm not saying go buy her dinner and all this, but sometimes, you go meet up with a girl, you have a drink, and that turns into, let's order another drink. I'm having a good time. She's earning and your attention by her interest and by being somebody cool to be around, and fucking, go do a location change, maybe go grab dinner. Who cares? You literally can you literally can knock out 2 or 3 dates in one date when you use what I suggest a lot of guys do, which is more or less the escalating. It's an escalating date situation. You meet up for something casual, coffee or a drink, and then from there, it's not, big investment. If you don't like each other, you don't like her, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, it was nice meeting you. And then you're out. Okay. No harm, no foul. Have some secondary plans. Everything's good. But if you actually like her and are interested and she likes you, that 15 to 30-minute drink or coffee can turn into now another 15, 30 minutes and doing something else. So good common, and that can turn into another hour, and that could turn into a whole evening and her even coming home with you, for those of you guys who are so concerned about getting laid. So it's like, that's how that goes, because she's comfortable, and it's you're just escalating things and moving things along that way, right? And so, but actually go do something. Actually have her. Now, you're not going to pick her up and talk to her parents, but have her meet you somewhere, right? Like, actually do some shit. You know what I mean? Or plan something. It doesn't have to be big, but you'd be amazed how many guys just don't do that. Just simply doing that makes you at a higher, puts you at a higher perceived value. Think again, like, not to say that guy should do what this guy did, because he was insane and a complete narcissistic person with yeah, crazy, right? But the Tinder swindler guy, right? I mean, what did he do? He had the women meet him for coffee at a very nice, like, 5-star hotel. You know, the perception of value. Now, he didn't stick around and do what I'm talking about. He did other stuff, whatever. But the perception of value on that guy on a quick 30-minute meetup, but the meetup was at like a high class, nice place where he was dressed nice. It was a damn date. Okay. Versus you guys trying to banter a bunch and trying to get a girl to come to your house that you've never met. And that probably, waiting for you to fall asleep so she can, I don't know, stab your dog or something. Right. I mean, think about it. So anyway, and again, I'm not knocking. We've all had girls come directly to the house before. So I'm not saying like, okay, but a girl that we're talking high value, good looking, someone you're actually interested in, right? Go someplace. You don't have to try to impress her, but actually do something where you go somewhere. Just try it. I know, fucking crazy, right? Logistics. Okay. That's the thing they had back in the day. The guy led and took care of all the logistics. You need to do that. We need to reinstitute that as men, starting with you. Listen to this. She wants to be a girl, man. She doesn't want to take care of all that shit. I don't care what she says. I don't care what her strong, independent, feminist BS narrative is that she tells herself to try to, think, to try to preserve her self-esteem every day. When she gets on a date with a guy that's attractive and dominant, she wants that dude to lead, period. All right. So that's it. Just you lead. Now, part of that leadership, though, is the logistics. You should know where you need to take care of. Okay, where are we going? Where are we meeting? Sending, when you do that meeting close, hey, let's meet here. She's like, cool. 7:00. See you there. Send her a screen, a ping or whatever from your GPS so she doesn't get lost. Right. Go there, figure out, and then if you're doing that 30-minute drink and you want a location change and go try a different place, have it already planned out in your head how that's going to happen. A lot of you guys blow situations where you could have a great sexual experience with a chick because your logistics suck. You're trying to figure out, where do we go? What do we do? Do we go to my house? Do we go to your house? I don't know what to do. All right. Don't be that guy, man. Figure out what the plan is and then lead her that way. Let her object if she's not consenting. Okay. So logistics. And then chivalry. Ooh, some controversy here. Because when I say this, and even when my good friend Rolo talks about this, he's usually talking about a dead framework from an old order thinking in his case, which I don't disagree with him there. And most of the guys, though, are translating chivalry into simping for a girl, right? And we all know we don't want to simp for some girl. So what do I mean? What do we do here? Okay, so look at this here. All right, so here's my last point on chivalry here from one of my lady listeners. Love a man that takes charge. Yup, they all do. They all do. And if you don't know how to do it well, you're gonna be unattractive. That's just the way it is. All right. Did you like that one? Guys don't get laid. All right. This isn't bad advice here. Invite her out somewhere that you want to go. That's exactly what I do, Mark. Man, that's exactly what I do. It is a win-win. And then if she does, happen to suck or not show up or something, you're just out anyway. It doesn't matter. It's rare. If you're doing it right, you should rarely get ghosted. But if it does happen, you don't care. You're out someplace, right? But it's still like a date, though, right? You're still going someplace doing something. You're not just trying to convince some girl to come over, which I'm not saying it's the worst thing to have done that, but put it this way: you don't see many successful guys who are having anything long term. Doesn't usually go that way when a guy's just convincing a girl to come over at 2 a.m. You know what I'm saying? It's just whatever, right? So anyhow, so taking charge. To what degree of taking the lead or taking charge? You're asking her. But I'm going to tell you, man, it's to all degrees. All right. You're not going to make her problems your problems, unless, of course, you own her ass, and that's a whole nother conversation. There's some degree of that, but even then, she's still personally responsible for herself. You're not going to do that, but you should take charge of pretty much the whole thing, as long as she's in consent to that. All right. But let's get into chivalry, though, for what I mean. That's the opening doors, going to the door instead of just honking your horn like when you show up, if you were to show up at her house, or whatever. Holding hands, having her hold your arm, walking her on the inside of the sidewalk, leading in the restaurant or the place to sit down, those little things. And so why, it's not simping for a girl to do that. What you're actually doing is demonstrating dominance. Okay. As a man, if she's with you, even on that one date, she's essentially under your, we'll say, male circle of protection and care. Okay. A girl does not want to sleep with a dude who isn't going to protect her and who isn't going to really show any care for her, right? And who isn't going to lead her. Like those three things, she's not going to want to be with you. All right. And so how do you demonstrate that? Well, when you lead a girl to her side of the passenger side of the vehicle and you open the door for her, you're demonstrating that you're taking charge, you're taking the lead, you're demonstrating that she's under your circle of protection and care. Okay. That is why girls get the tinglies in the right places when guys do that. Now, if you're a simp or a unattractive guy who's constantly showering her with weird compliments and demonstrating that you're not sexually capable through your behavior and your lack of confidence, and then you're just like waiting on her like a waiter or something, that's not going to be attractive. All right. So I'm not talking about that. See, a lot of you guys, I know how well you do based on your criticisms, and no, there's not many criticisms in the chat here because you guys are smart. You pay attention to me, but they'll be in the comments. You know, in the next day or two, you'll have that guy that gets on there and wants to, you know, act like the act of demonstrating care and protection for a woman is somehow obsolete nowadays. Well, I know he's not getting laid. All right. Now, yeah, women sleep with assholes all the time that don't do that. We understand that. Okay. I know that. However, we're talking about differentiating yourself, demonstrating that not just that you're the better guy, like the nicer guy to hook up with, it's not that, but that you're actually the more sexually marketable guy. You're actually the more dominant guy. You're actually the guy that she's going to be rewarded with if if she ends up having something going on with you. You know what I'm saying? And so you're just demonstrating that through your actions. That's all it is. And that's all a little bit of chivalry is. I'm not talking about, again, being her waiter, like, oh, you're cold. Let me search around and try to find something. I don't know. You get what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to say that, but if there's an element of protection and care over a person you're with and a person you're sleeping with, a girl is going to want to feel that if she's going to want to keep sleeping with you. Now, sure, some hoe who has low self-esteem, who just broke up with her boyfriend, yeah, she might not need all that and might sleep with you after a few drinks on a Thursday or Friday night at the bar, but she's probably not going to keep sleeping with you, and the sex probably isn't going to be all that good. All right, so when a chick is really bought into a dude and wants to sexually open up, generally speaking, unless she hasn't experienced anything better in her life up to that point, feeling kind of protected and taken care of a bit without having it, come across as him qualifying to her or completely putting her on some unreasonable pedestal. Those things are attractive. And so some of those chivalrous, I don't know, how it's spelled, chivalrous, but I can't even say it now. Some of those behaviors, though, okay, are good at demonstrating that. All right. My man, Kate says, my man opens car doors, pays for dates, nothing at all beta about it. It's extremely hot. Yeah, exactly. If I bring my girl some flowers, she's not going to look at me like I'm some little bitch bringing her flowers. She's going to look at me like I'm a dominant guy bringing her flowers. And she's going to be like, wow, that's good, right? Like, whatever. That's just what it is, just to use that example, because guys will be like, well, bringing a girl flowers is beta. No, it's not. A beta guy, a weak ass guy bringing a girl flowers, or a guy who's a douchebag who is trying to get his girl back after he treated her like crap for a year, now bringing her flowers. That's unattractive. Okay. A dominant alpha type guy who's an attractive guy decides one day to bring his girl flowers. It's an attractive alpha man bringing a girl flowers. Okay. And so you just be the guy. Okay. And then you do whatever the hell you want. And that's it. So thanks for joining me today on this little bit chat here that we're having. And, if you want to do some work with me this year, click that link in the description of the video. And that's it. Later.